Good evening, guys. It is Monday, January 20th, 2025. I think I've still been saying 2024 in these videos. I hope I haven't, but it's 2025. It's MLK Day. It's Inauguration Day. This Bathrobe business. I have decaf coffee and I have the news. So today is obviously Inauguration Day. So many of the stories are very political. As you know, I try to avoid politics on this channel simply because I feel like there's enough of that already. I try to focus it entirely on business. However, with it being Inauguration Day, it's unavoidable that it's going to overlap with politics, but I'm still going to talk about just stories that affect business in and of itself. So let's jump into it. Because of the holiday today, the markets were closed, so it's kind of a slow news day. A couple things I will touch on in regards to the markets. So Bitcoin, let me make sure I'm sharing my screen. Okay, perfect. So Bitcoin touched 109. This is a brand new for Bitcoin. It's not a surprise seeing as how aggressive the Trump administration is being with crypto. Now, Donald Trump himself launched a meme coin, I think, a couple of days ago, and it hit some ridiculous valuation of 80 billion or 800 billion. I don't think it's important. But as well as the First Lady, Melania Trump, launched her own meme coin as well. That has since today, I believe, overshadowed Trump's coin. But again, this is just imaginary. I don't think it really matters. But what it does is it does signal how much the administration is taking seriously cryptocurrency. Now, for Trump, I think this is just a money-making scheme, not even criticizing the game. It's like, do it if you can. But where it does matter is Bitcoin. I think it does show that Bitcoin is going to be a major focus of the Trump administration. It's not a surprise. This is something he's been signaling for a long time, and it's likely to continue. Gold did have a slight retreat. And I'm going to get to gold price in just a minute, simply because it does have to do with tariffs and things like that. But gold had a slight retreat, however, is still at an all-time high of 27.41. So now let's jump into some of the bigger stories. So many of you have probably already heard that. I mean, everybody already knows that TikTok is back. So it was gone for like 4 hours and then it came right back. Now we have official word from the Trump administration that there is a 75-day delay. So this, as well as other stuff, is going to be negotiation tactics. So Trump has said from day one that tariffs are fantastic. Tariffs are great. We're going to make so much money from tariffs. However, I think you have to kind of read between the lines. I think it's clear that Donald Trump is fine with using tariffs as tax revenue. And I think he may focus on that aggressively. However, he is targeting some of these countries more to get something out of them rather than go straight into tariffs. So if he didn't want something in exchange, he would have just allowed the TikTok ban to stay in place. What he's doing is, I believe, my opinion, is going to negotiate for something in its place. So he's keeping tariffs on all these countries as kind of a sword above their heads that can drop at any time if he doesn't get what he wants. Also, Trump's language with China actually has softened. He invited Xi Jinping to his inauguration. Xi himself could not attend, but I believe he invited his vice president, which I don't think their vice president is the same thing as our vice president, but he did invite the guy that was under Xi, his VP, I believe, did attend the inauguration today. So Trump's language with China has softened. I think he is trying to kind of realign and renegotiate a lot of the terms that he had, I guess, had started with in his first administration, but it kind of drastically changed under the Biden administration. Many believe that Biden was soft on China, but he was probably much, much harder than Trump ever was or ever planned to be. As an example, all the tariffs on EV cars from China, solar panels, etc. So Trump is definitely renegotiating terms with China, and TikTok is definitely going to be a focal point of that. It's one of many potential tariffs that he could throw back on, but these 75 days, I think, gives him the ability to negotiate. Now, what Trump wants during these negotiations, I have no idea. That will be left to be determined in the next 75 days. But it's clear that I think TikTok is going to be a pawn in the negotiation strategies. In addition, he is discussing major tariffs with both Canada and Mexico. Now, this isn't a surprise as well. This has been strongly forecast. Again, I don't think this is so much in the case of he wants to have tariffs in place as much as he wants to have something in return. So I think with Mexico, the border is definitely one of his focuses, as is fentanyl. That is also a big deal because traditionally, a lot of the fentanyl coming into the United States has been through Mexico. Some things may have been changing. So, on a recent podcast I listened to with a journalist, she said that actually, because fentanyl was such a focal point in Mexico, a lot of it has actually moved up into Canada because the border is so much more open between the United States and Canada. So there are labs producing fentanyl and I should say opioids in Canada that are shipping down through the Canadian border. Now, I don't know how much of a statistic that is. I mean, is it 5% of the market? Is it 10% of the market? Is it negligible? Is this just rumor? I don't know. But if somebody does know, it would be Donald Trump and his administration. So it could be that Donald Trump, while he doesn't want to make it public, he does want Canada to kind of renegotiate these terms in order to get fentanyl under control. Because from a lot of what I've heard from this journalist on this podcast, it was talks that actually Mexico has been doing a lot to crack down on fentanyl coming through the border, especially since the cartels themselves do not like fentanyl in their countries because they do not allow fentanyl to be sold in Mexico. And apparently that has been happening. So it could be that that is on the board as well. I think of all the pieces that Trump wants with Canada, it's a little bit more control of oil. So we purchase a fair amount of oil from Canada. There's always talks that America is energy independent. We need to be more energy independent. We need to be less energy independent. That's kind of a red herring. No matter what America does with production of oil, we import a vast majority of petroleum from other countries, Canada, Saudi Arabia, I think parts of Latin America as well. We do not actually use the oil we manufacture here in the United States. That's not entirely true, but a vast majority of the oil that has entered the market, shale, fracking, etc., is not actually used by the United States. There's a multitude of reasons for that, including economic. We actually make more money selling it into the market than we do import, than costs us to import, but also because of the refining process as well. U.S. refineries are built really to refine old school oil. And I'm sure there's guys out there that can define it better than me, but shale is a little bit different of a chemical structure. And it's not worth revamping all our refineries into processing shale when we could just sell it at a higher price and reap the rewards. But we do import strongly from Canada. However, that doesn't mean, and at a good price, but that doesn't mean that Trump doesn't want to renegotiate that in order to get better terms on oil coming in through Canada, because that is one of their greatest exports. And in return, he would actually probably raise the price of shale that is being exported. So if I had to guess how these tariffs with Canada and Mexico would go, with Mexico, it's probably more of a security play. With Canada, it could end up being a fentanyl story that we don't know about yet, but more than likely, I would guess that it's going to be oil. Next story I'm going to talk about, actually, that's probably all I'm going to talk about. The last two stories were kind of minor. I don't think it's worth mentioning, and I'll probably save them for another day. I kind of want to keep this focus just on Inauguration Day because I don't want to talk about politics often on this channel, but it kind of had to be the case. For tomorrow, I do think we're going to see a bump in the market, despite what they're saying with the market being down today. The market's closed, but obviously in the pre-market, the market is down under threat of tariffs. But I think the Trump trade is still going to be strong. I think tomorrow when the market's open, it's going to be pretty strong. So I wouldn't be surprised if we hit a very, very strong open. That's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. I will see you guys back here tomorrow. I hope you have a productive Tuesday, and I'll see you tomorrow evening. Bye.